All right, I'm going to ask you a question here, yeah? It's similar to making diamonds, yeah? Here it is. So we take a balloon and we're going to take it to space. But before we take it to space, we're going to cram a salad into it. And we're going to cram some meat in it as well, yes? We're going to put it in the balloon. We're not going to inflate it. And then we're going to tie it up, attach it to a rocket, and then we're going to send it up. Now, astronauts have pressure suits. And the pressure suit is designed to fill up with oxygen that creates an atmosphere to the pressure of the atmosphere that then pushes on the astronauts inside the pressure suit, yeah? And that's what mimics atmosphere so that they can operate in space. Perhaps it's getting more and more better with the technology, but 101, that's it, yeah? In this instant, we're not going to be blowing any balloon up with air in order to mimic the atmosphere. We're just going to put the food in it. Salad, a little bit of meat, a little bit of everything, and then we're going to tie it up. We'll take it to space, and assuming we could refrigerate that and the balloon didn't perish in the process, we're going to take it up to space, and then we will let it out without a pressure suit. Now, some interesting things are going to happen to the piece of meat, the salad. The first thing that's going to happen is the balloon is probably going to start to inflate because the molecules will begin to separate, and they're going to begin to inflate. 2, there is going to be a gunky liquid residue build up in there. And 3, there is going to be the leftovers, the remnants left over from the salad. Now, when we then take that in, if we could get it through the hatch, because by then it's probably inflated pretty big, and we're going to bring it into the craft, we're going to then depressurize it, but that gas that it leaks out, we're going to capture. Okay, there's one. One is the gas. 2 is the liquid, the goo, the gunk that's separated and is condensed in this particular inflation. And then we're going to separate that. And then the third piece of separating is going to be the food debris. In this process, which one would you rather eat? Which one do you think is more beneficial to humans per energy, per calorie, per ratio, per gentleness? So when we look at our eating on the land, if we were to eat all of these things, now that's what we're going to do next. We're going to take the exact same meal that we put into this balloon that's now been extracted, and we're going to eat both of these. We're going to do it in a weird way. First is the old-fashioned way. Eat all of that. It's all going to run through you, and your body is going to waste how much of that? 90%? 90% of that meal you've eaten is going to be a waste product. Yes? Yeah, one way or another, you're going to waste that. Now, if I eat that food that we've taken to space, how much of that is going to be waste? How much energy is that going to give me? Probably not a lot. A little, but not a lot. And I'm going to generate a lot of waste. I'm probably also going to feel full, but I'm not going to get the nutrition that I need. Now, what happens if I drink that liquid, that oil that comes out of there? How much am I going to waste? Next to none? Am I going to get fiber? There should be fibrous particles in that. And then there's the gas. What happens if I hop that gas? Hop the gas, breathe the gas from that. Is it going to be purer? Is it going to be worse? Is it going to feed me this way? You know, when going to space, you have to look at the waste products. All of those fibrous, to be able to extract the purer form of food from food. After all, our body wastes 90, 80% of it. That means you need a toilet, that means you need this, that means you need to clean it, that means you need... And some might argue that you need those fibers. So what happens if I take this juice that I get from here and sprinkle it in with some fiber and then shot it down? Am I going to be producing much waste? How much energy am I going to get from that liquid? Now, why do I ask this? Because it's a bit like trees. If I squish it, I'm going to make coal. But in the crushing process, or the pull apart process in this regard, you're going to extract oil. And you're going to leave coal. And you're also going to extract a gas. It's interesting, when making coal, if we think about how the planet makes coal, it's which bit of it do you want to keep? In the extraction process, the oil, the coal, or the gas? Because even when that's being pressed, it's going to have tiny bubbles in it, which is going to compact it. It's going to remove all of those air bubbles. Now, what does that look like? What does that do to the environment after extracting? Which ones are more nutritious for you? Interesting. Which one would you prefer? Oil, coal, or the gas? It's an interesting question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which one's more pure? Coal, oil?
Probably the gas. No.
The gas that's extracted, which will probably be carbon. Some of it will be squashed out, or how it grows, because it's very porous. All of this is porous. And even when it goes into the breakdown and rotting process, you'll make coal from that. We can go again. We can extract more from this and crush it into diamond. Which one? Well, we would say the gas is purer. Why? Because it will go on to feed more fibers. It could go off to feed more plants. And if it's oxygen that's being pressed out of that, how pure is that? Isn't that interesting? Do you think that's an interesting thing? It's a way to think about it. What do you reckon is more healthier for you to eat? The food itself, the liquid, and it will be like no liquid that the planet could ever create on its own, because it would have been pulled apart. What happens if you put food like that close to a black hole and then bring it away? It's going to have pulled a lot of stuff from it, but you've got to capture it.
It's easier for you to digest the liquid, isn't it?
You know that in making diamonds, there's extraction process. What happens if you forge two diamonds together? What do you think will come next? I think a soft diamond. What could you do with a soft diamond? If we understand that diamonds are very strong, the next one should be very soft. Planets can't do that. No, sorry, stars can't do that. Stars are responsible for giving you the baseline ingredient from a star that's exploded, yes? Mm-hmm. Now, how many Earths do you think there are in the universe? Let's say, for argument's sake, there is 100,000 Earths out there. Do you think they all have identical structures on them? No. So, here's something. E.T., yes? If you left away from your planet, would you leave your planet behind?
You say no.
I do say no, yeah, for a particular reason. Do you know why I say no? If I happen across E.T. and I see that they've got some substances that they've grown with, first I need to give you a backstory. If there were 100,000 Earths, they will all have different ingredients on them. Earth has some very precious stuff on it. But you're on Earth, so you learn the Earth. When Earth teaches you all of its secrets of how to make these rare Earth minerals, what happens if you destroy the Earth? No other life form can make what you've just made, because they couldn't backward piece it together. If you then scattered your planet across, or put it in a black hole, or scattered it across multiple star systems, that's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. What would E.T. not do? They wouldn't kill you, because you hold the information to know how to make those things if you studied the planet. So it'd be much more beneficial for them to work with you and their precious stuff. You won't be able to piece it back together as to how it came in existence. They lived on a planet. They saw it. They operated with it. They put together all of the pieces of the puzzle. If you can't see that, you can't make it. You are blinded. Isn't that interesting? So let's assume there is 100,000 planets out there. Each one is going to be different. Even if they're identical to Earth, Goldilocks zone, but they didn't have the same meteorite impacts, they didn't have the right moon, they didn't spin it the right ratio, they may not have had tectonic plates. It's never going to be identical. Ever. Identical twins really is a myth out in space. To have identical planets, it's bollocks. Identical stars, forget it. So if we look at all of the rare Earth minerals on the Earth, and we were able to make these in abundance. So we make this many rare earth minerals, and humanity only needs this much of it. What happens if you made it big enough and then made a star out of it? What process could you get from that? So we look at our bones, made of calcium, yeah? Among other things, but mainly calcium. Can you make fine bone china from chalk? Why not? It's still calcium, ain't it?
It's a different structure.
So it's a different structure. So now we have calcium is now isotopes. Oxygen, isotopes. Carbon, isotopes. If we made artificial blood that represented blood, and we exposed it to the air, if the predominant gas is carbon, it will be exposed and it will release oxygen to try and balance the room and take on the carbon. Now that's one way to do it. In the human body, we can't go and add loads of copper. A bit like an octopus, let's say, if we started adding copper, assuming that that is correct. Can we add more hemoglobin to a body? The human body has liquid iron. Where did that liquid iron come from? It's not hot enough to be liquidized.
It's in chemical compounds.
So a chemical compound, that's a very interesting thing. So that is extremely rare. So that's a different isotope of iron then.
Yeah, that's combined with something.
That is incredibly rare. Abundance here, but it's incredibly rare. And then if we were to add up all of these earth zones everywhere, 100,000, you've got 1 out of 100,000 that is unique. And its ingredients that it's been cooking up and churning are completely unique to Earth, to humans. If ET ever happened across your planet, all they need to do is examine your planet, and they don't need you. If they happened across you, but didn't know where you come from, good luck trying to make all of those ingredients. You just can't do it. So anyway, in our artificial blood, the human body can only cope with so much iron in the blood, yes? They couldn't cope with that much copper because it would be copper poisoning. But if we could make our own artificial blood, could we add more copper? Could we add more liquid iron? So we could make a bloodstream that was highly potent at collecting and switching gases. Which, how potent could we make it? At being reactive to the environment, but whether it's in favor of carbon, because that's engineered then. Especially when it comes to farms. And then how many days could that tank exposed to humans then work in the opposite way than exposed to nature? And then if you could bridge the two biomes together using this center, because you don't want cross-contamination, you definitely don't want that. You don't want to, you know, we're very spory by creatures, aren't we? You know, it's an interesting thing. And then there are different types of food. What is truly the purest food that we can eat? I just often wonder about eating if, and we can become it. But if anything has ever tried this, so utilizing what's grown on the earth and take it to space and it pulls it apart, closer to a black hole, we understand what heat and pressure does. But do we know what the pulling, the diffusion process is doing?
Yeah, that breaks chemical bonds.
And if it breaks chemical bonds and then we repressurize it, it puts them back together again. What happens if we eat that? Because we can overpressurize it and bring them together, can't we?
We can, yeah. It might change them when they are.
Yeah, it might change them, but my question is it for better or for worse?
Yeah, that's the question.
Do you think then that there would be a time where humanity no longer shite? Based on this. That if you can give yourself a solid fuel in your body, and we know that eating animals and grass and greenery and whatever else it may be, veg, we're wasting an incredible amount of it. And we know that this waste product begins to damage the planet. Only intelligence understands it. Now, is there a way that we can drink something, eat something, make it taste really good, but it's 100% utilized in the body? No waste product. And then how does that look for energy? How does that look going forward? How does that look for life? Because your body's got to make process of this stuff. And in order for it to be wasted, your body is experiencing nutrition goes in and it has to poison. And the body has to protect itself against the poisons that got to leave. That's energy. That's expensive on life existence, life expectancy. It becomes problematic if anything happens.
Make liver and kidneys busy.
Liver, kidneys. Now, if they weren't working on this, how much more better and more energy and more life force would they have at cleaning the body? That's the question. If you are impressed with diamonds, it's the stuff that gets extracted from them that we never really often see. We overlook it. And it's the same way when we look at it with food. If we extract something and then you've made a diamond of food, here you go. You can keep those bits. I just want the liquid. I want the stuff that's real value. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? To press a seed, an olive pip. Is it a pip? When you press that, what comes out? Oil. What do you leave behind? The diamond. Bone marrow. What happens when you press bone marrow? It's actually one of the most nutritious things you'll ever eat, but no one ever does it. If you can crush a bone marrow, you're leaving behind the diamond, but you're extracting the gristle, the grit, the stuff in the middle of the marrow. It's tasty, but it's also, it produces very less waste. And then how beneficial is that to... You'll notice dogs will favour that above all else. To the point where they can't get enough of it. And humans are like, nah. Anyway, that's particular that. But then pressing fruit. Sure, smoothies and stuff like that are not great because we still waste these.
But if you didn't choose,
Could you imagine watching a stomach, the way that it takes what it needs? That is what you want to make. Just that stuff that the stomach takes. Because then it's straight up energy. Anything that's left behind, well, what can that? The art would be to press that until there's nothing left. Which is still a waste, but again, is there a way then, which asks another question, after you've brought down this crystal, can we rehydrate it back into the fiber and do the same again? And how many trips can we do of that before? So off of 1 meal, can we actually feed 10 people? That's the question. Because we don't know, because we waste more. That's wasted. The body's, I don't need it. I'll take all of this liquid, but you can keep the crystal if you want. Buff it up and we might be able to, you can mistake petrified horse shit as meteorites if you don't know what you're looking for. And you can buff them up, make them look all shiny.
and then it's...
But it's not. It's, you crumble it. Interesting, but it's made you a diamond in essence. And it's petrified, so look how old that is. Look how old that has become. And they say that this stuff is really good for plants. I don't see all the roots gravitating into it. If it was that great, then how come plants choose not to take all of that? So it argues in the opposite.
It's what garden says.
Yeah, I suppose it helps in some aspects. I think it helps in the microorganisms that it attracts. And when the microorganisms die, that's what puts the nutrients in, not the shit itself. But to explain that is, again, another one that creates a lot of microorganisms is moss. If you collect all the moss off the roof and boil it with some water, gently heat it up, and then strain it, you've just made tea for plants. That is the microorganisms in that, and that is very nutritious for plants. Incredible. This is much, much, much better.
Yeah, from what I heard from my grandma was that horse shit was used because it was warm and you put it around the plant.
Yes, and this, it can be warm, yep.
So that's what ordinary people understood. They didn't understand the...
And actually, I suppose I would say that there was, people didn't want to keep walking in horse shit. So if you tell people everyone loved roses at the time, that's really good for roses. What do they do for you for free? They clean the streets.
And they
end up fighting over it.
When the horse does it, everyone runs out of its little space.
It's incredible, isn't it? And then what's more easier for plants to grow into? Which we know, when they drop the fruit from the tree, they find it much more easier to grow in that than if you went and took human shite and laid it under the tree. You eventually would kill the tree. But if you could extract what you need from it using space, and it's just assuming, drink that. You can even cook it. If you needed to bind it with something, then fine, but feeling 100% full. And then off of this crystallized stuff that you've just made, how neutral is it and how great is it for tree growth? Because long-term space journeys need you to figure this out. My question is, what happens if you make a star of all of those rare earth minerals? It would be like a star never seen before. And realistically, if there is only a variable of earth made at just that right ratio, with just those right impacts, with just those right events happening, at just the right positioning, at just the right star, with just the right magnetism, with just the right magma, with just the right types of rotations, storms, weather patterns, all of these things play a factor into shaping elements, creating different isotopes. And you are the only ones in this whole universe that know how to do that by watching it. And you can then mimic these events, speed it up so that you get more of an outcome. And then as you begin to shape these and get loads and loads and more of them, and you get enough to make a star from it and start a fusion process with it, what do you get out the end of it? A combination. You know, water isn't made in stars. It's nigh on impossible for water to be made in stars. Hydrogen starts here, oxygen is over there. How do you bind those together when they're at different ratios on the periodic table? But the debris on the planets, but that's a trick question because each planet can go on to be a star. So in the beginning they were shaping these, and then it tells you something about the stars, right? If Jupiter can be a star and the Earth can get big enough to become a star, it's all got these little rare treasures inside them, hasn't it? But at the smallest percent ratio. And then if you think about it, when that star explodes, it's going to put its little precious ingredients all over the place, but by a pinch. Like a sprinkling of herbs into a pot somewhere. Oh, that soup is good. Sprinkle these around. So yeah, highly revamping blood. Rare, precious stuff on the planet. We got precious stuff in our body. Our body is only going to create these types of calcium crystals inside our bones. That becomes rare in itself. To be able to take with this just right structure, with this just right atmosphere, to protect us from this much cold. Animals slightly tweaked this way. That's so rare. Even your bone structure is rare. The rocks have all been shaped in such a way. Yeah. You know, they often say that they char certain things in order to burn off the impurities. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's more than just impurities coming off of there. Gee, interesting. So yeah, overcook a tree, and eventually, if we can get it in the right environment, you'll make diamonds. But what if you were trying to make coal and oil? Lithium? You know how to make it? But if you overcook it, you're going to make something completely different. Another isotope, another isotope, another isotope. Has that ever been made on the planet or in the universe? Probably not. Because it's only been tweaked at this. Everything's a Mayan calendar. Each one has its own Mayan calendar to it. And only when the planet becomes a star does it spread these new ingredients everywhere. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? But if not, it ends up as a percentage, very small. And then this galaxy compared to another galaxy, completely different cooking. Cool. What could you make? Yeah, anyway, a little interesting one. But I just thought we'd have a little convo.